First contact and betrayal. The quantum arrays at SETI's Deep Space Listening Post Beta hummed quietly in the pre-dawn hours. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the cascade of data streaming before her. 20 years of searching the stars had taught her patience, but something about tonight felt different. The signal patterns she'd been tracking for the past week defied natural explanation. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," Marcus Wong, her junior researcher, called from his station. "The signal's changed. It's structured." Sarah moved swiftly to his terminal, her heart racing as she examined the new data. The pattern was unmistakable, a clear mathematical sequence, too precise to be natural. "Send it to main processing. Wake up Director Phillips." Within hours, the facility buzzed with activity. The signal contained more than just numbers. It carried images, technical specifications, and what appeared to be a universal translation key. The message was clear. A damaged alien vessel requested permission to enter Earth's solar system for repairs. Director Phillips stood before the UN Security Council 2 days later, presenting their findings. The vessel identifies itself as the Starweaver, a scientific exploration ship from a civilization calling themselves the Nexus. They claim to be peaceful and in need of assistance. The debate raged for days, but in the end, humanity's curiosity and compassion won out. A response was sent, offering safe harbor and assistance. The world watched as the Starweaver appeared at the edge of the solar system, its sleek crystalline hull reflecting sunlight like a newborn star. First contact proceeded exactly as planned. The Nexus representatives, tall humanoids with iridescent skin and flowing robes, expressed profound gratitude. They shared technical knowledge freely, helping humanity advance decades in mere months. Sarah worked closely with their chief scientist, Varin, discovering commonalities between their species that seemed almost too perfect. "Your people learned so quickly," Varin commented one day, watching Sarah manipulate a holographic interface of Nexus design. "It's remarkable." Something in his tone made Sarah pause. She'd noticed small inconsistencies in their behavior, brief moments when their benevolent facade seemed to slip. But before she could voice her concerns, the attack began. Massive warships emerged from fold space throughout the solar system, their designs entirely different from the Starweaver's peaceful appearance. The Nexus representatives revealed their true nature: advanced scouts for the Dominion, an empire that had perfected the art of conquest through deception. "You were so eager to help," Varin sneered, his gentle demeanor replaced by cold contempt. "So proud of your rapid advancement. Did you never wonder why we made it so easy? Every piece of technology we shared contains hidden protocols, backdoors that we can activate at will. Humanity's defense systems, now integrated with Nexus technology, turned against Earth's cities. Communications networks collapsed. Power grids failed. In the chaos, Sarah managed to escape the facility with crucial data, but not before hearing Varin's final mockery. Your species will serve as an excellent cautionary tale. The primitive race that thought they could join the galactic community as equals. The first wave of the invasion lasted less than 6 hours. Major cities fell silent as Dominion ships deployed electromagnetic weapons that rendered most modern technology useless. But in their arrogance, the invaders had made a crucial mistake. They assumed technological superiority equated to total victory. In the Appalachian Mountains, Sarah found her way to a hastily established resistance base. The facility, built during the Cold War, had been shielded against electromagnetic attack. Inside, she found military leaders and scientists already analyzing the invasion. "They think they've won," General Miranda Hayes declared, studying battlefield reports. "But they don't understand humanity. We've faced extinction-level threats before. Ice ages, plagues, world wars. Each time, we've adapted and survived." Sarah shared her data, including hidden fragments of code she'd extracted from Nexus systems. "They're not invincible," she explained. Their deception worked because we trusted them, but now we know their true nature. And knowledge, even bitter knowledge, is power. As night fell over a changed Earth, survivors gathered in bunkers and hidden facilities across the globe. The Dominion expected to find a broken species ready for processing into their empire. Instead, they would face humanity's greatest strength, the absolute refusal to submit to tyranny. In the command center, Sarah watched as reports came in from around the world. Resistance cells were forming spontaneously, sharing information through old radio networks and paper messages. The Dominion had disabled their advanced technology, but humans were remembering older ways of fighting, of communicating, of surviving. They think this is the end, Sarah told the gathered leaders. But they've just witnessed the beginning. Humanity didn't come this far to surrender to the first advanced species that decided we were easy prey. In the darkness outside, the Dominion ships patrolled with impunity, their crews confident in their complete victory. They didn't notice the subtle movements below, the quiet preparations, the determination building in every survivor's heart. Humanity had been betrayed, but betrayal was a harsh teacher, and its lessons would not be forgotten. The real war was about to begin. The hidden strength. 3 months after the invasion, humanity had learned to become invisible. Deep within the Rocky Mountains, the Resistance's central command post hummed with activity. Old computer systems, deliberately kept separate from Nexus technology, processed intelligence reports from around the globe. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a wall of analog displays, studying the patterns of Dominion patrols. "They're getting frustrated," Colonel Jack Martinez observed, pointing to recent attack patterns. "Their sweeps are becoming more aggressive, less precise. They expected us to break quickly." Sarah nodded, remembering Varen's smugness. The Dominion's greatest weakness was becoming clear. They couldn't comprehend a species that refused to follow their predicted behavioral patterns. Every failed search, every destroyed patrol, challenged their fundamental beliefs about their own superiority. In the adjacent laboratory, Dr. Maya Patel hunched over a dissected piece of Dominion technology. She'd been part of the original team studying Nexus gifts, but now she had a different purpose. "The more we examine their tech," she announced as Sarah entered, "the more we understand their limitations. They stopped innovating centuries ago. Why improve when you believe you're already perfect?" The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A teenage hacker named Hami Chen, no relation to Sarah, discovered something while playing with salvaged Dominion communication devices. "They use quantum encryption," he explained to the assembled scientists, his fingers dancing across a jury-rigged interface. "But their patterns are fixed. They never expected anyone to analyze them at this level." Sarah watched in amazement as Tommy demonstrated his discovery. The Dominion's supposedly unbreakable communications could be decoded using Earth's quantum computers, machines that approached the problem differently than alien technology. It wasn't about matching their advancement level. It was about thinking differently. General Hayes called a global coordination meeting. Representatives from resistance cells worldwide connected through a secure network built from pre-invasion technology. "We've confirmed similar findings across all captured Dominion tech," Sarah reported. "Their advancement stopped because they found a system that worked. But that system has weaknesses they don't even recognize." The Resistance's strategy evolved rapidly. Instead of trying to match Dominion technology, they focused on exploiting its rigid nature. Teams of engineers worked to develop countermeasures that seemed primitive by alien standards, but proved devastatingly effective. Old-fashioned radio waves, properly modulated, could disrupt Dominion shield harmonics. Simple electromagnetic pulses, precisely timed, could crash their navigation systems. But the real game-changer came from studying the psychological impact of their attacks. "Look at their response patterns," Sarah pointed out during a strategy session. "Every time we succeed using primitive methods, their counter-response becomes more exaggerated, more wasteful. They're literally unable to accept that we could challenge them this way." The Resistance began targeting this psychological weakness. They launched deliberately crude-looking attacks that concealed sophisticated strategies. The Dominion, convinced of their superiority, repeatedly fell for these deceptions. Their losses mounted, but their pride prevented them from adapting. Underground factories, built in abandoned mines and mountain caverns, began producing hybrid weapons. Human ingenuity combined with reverse-engineered alien tech. Each design exploited the Dominion's blind spots, their inability to conceive of threats coming from lesser beings. "We're not just fighting their technology," Maya explained to new recruits. "We're fighting their entire worldview." Every victory, no matter how small, shakes their conviction in their own superiority. And that's where they're most vulnerable. The turning point came 6 months into the occupation. A Dominion command carrier, believing itself safely cloaked in orbit, was disabled by a seemingly impossible combination of technologies. Old Soviet-era radar arrays, repurposed through quantum computing, detected fluctuations in their cloaking field. Salvaged weather satellites, reprogrammed with new algorithms, tracked their position. The killing stroke came from a ground-based laser system that no Dominion engineer would have considered a threat. As the massive ship crashed into the Pacific Ocean, resistance cells worldwide reported the same observation. The Dominion's response was becoming increasingly erratic. Their carefully planned patrol routes dissolved into chaotic searches. Their precise, measured responses gave way to overwhelming shows of force that wasted resources and left them vulnerable. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Sarah watched the global situation displays with growing confidence. They thought technology alone made them invincible, she told her team. They never understood that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our tools, it's in our ability to adapt, to think beyond established limits. The Resistance's next phase was ready to launch. Operation Achilles, named after the legendary warrior's one vulnerability, would test whether humanity's insights into Dominion psychology could be transformed into a decisive advantage. As Sarah reviewed the final plans, she allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The invaders had chosen Earth believing they'd found an easy target. Instead, they'd awakened a species that had spent its entire history learning to overcome seemingly impossible odds. The hidden strength of humanity wasn't in matching the Dominion's power. It was in fundamentally changing the rules of engagement, and as reports of successful strikes poured in from around the globe, it became clear that this lesson would cost the invaders dearly. Operation Achilles. Dawn broke over the Rockies as Operation Achilles entered its final preparation phase. In the command center, General Hayes surveyed the assembled team leaders. "For 8 months, we've been the prey," she declared. "Today, that changes." The plan was audacious, bordering on insane by conventional military standards. But as Sarah Chen had proven, conventional thinking was exactly what the Dominion expected. The Resistance had spent months feeding the aliens' intelligence network with carefully crafted misinformation, playing to their prejudices and assumptions. Colonel Martinez led the briefing, his tactical display showing Dominion fleet positions. "They believe they've identified our main base in the Australian outback," he explained. In reality, they found an elaborate decoy. "When they commit their forces to the southern hemisphere, we strike their northern command centers." The operation relied on precise timing and a deep understanding of Dominion psychology. Dr. Maya Patel's team had analyzed months of combat data, identifying patterns in alien response times and decision-making processes. "They're literally incapable of believing we could coordinate a global strike," she explained. "Their hierarchy is too rigid, too centralized. They can't conceive of effective decentralized command." Tommy Chen, now heading the Cyber Warfare Division despite his youth, had developed a virus that exploited the Dominion's quantum communication networks. "Their security is perfect, by their standards," he said. But they never considered that someone might repurpose their own protocols against them. "The virus looks like routine system maintenance. By the time they realize what's happening, their entire network will be compromised." As the operation commenced, resistance cells worldwide moved into position. The Australian gambit worked perfectly. Dominion ships descended on the empty outback in overwhelming force, expecting to crush Earth's last major resistance. Instead, they found elaborate holograms and automated defense systems designed to keep them occupied. Sarah coordinated from the Rocky Mountain Command Center, watching as the real attacks began. Across the Northern Hemisphere, specially trained teams infiltrated Dominion facilities using hybrid technology that exploited the aliens' blind spots. Their shields, designed to stop high-energy weapons, were useless against simple mechanical lockpicks. Their security systems, watching for advanced energy signatures, ignored teams using basic thermal camouflage. The first phase targeted their communication hubs. Teams of engineers, led by Maya's prodigies, planted quantum disruptors disguised as damaged Dominion tech. The aliens, finding what appeared to be their own malfunctioning equipment, followed standard protocols to repair and integrate the devices. Within hours, Tommy's virus began its work. In orbit, the Dominion fleet commanders received increasingly confused and contradictory orders. The Resistance's deep understanding of alien psychology proved devastating. Each commander, convinced they alone were receiving correct information, began acting independently. Their rigid command structure, faced with uncertainty, started to fracture. The second phase struck at the heart of their ground operations. Resistance fighters, using reverse-engineered cloaking technology combined with old-fashioned guerrilla tactics, hit critical infrastructure simultaneously. Power cores were sabotaged. Shield generators failed. Supply lines collapsed. Each failure cascaded through their system, triggering automated responses that only made the chaos worse. Sarah watched the tactical displays with intense focus. "They're following the exact response patterns we predicted," she noted. "Their training is so deeply ingrained, they can't adapt even when they can see it's not working." The operation's masterstroke came from understanding the Dominion's greatest weakness, their absolute certainty in their own superiority. When their primary systems failed, they immediately switched to backups, never considering that these too might be compromised. When their commanders received conflicting orders, each assumed the others were at fault, never questioning their own information. 18 hours into Operation Achilles, the first Dominion command center fell. The aliens, unable to conceive of defeat, had no contingency plans for this scenario. Their remaining forces, operating on protocols designed for victory, found themselves executing strategies that only hastened their collapse. In the Australian outback, the Dominion fleet finally realized their error, but by then, their northern command structure was in chaos. Their communication networks were compromised, and their ground forces were scattered. Attempts to regroup were hampered by the very protocols meant to ensure their efficiency. General Hayes received confirmation of success from teams worldwide. The Dominion's Northern Hemisphere operations had been effectively neutralized. More importantly, their aura of invincibility was shattered. Surviving alien commanders, faced with clear evidence of their vulnerability, began experiencing something entirely new to their species: doubt. In the aftermath, Sarah and her team analyzed the operation's results. "We didn't just defeat their forces," she explained to the Council. "We've broken their fundamental assumptions about warfare, about hierarchy, about their own superiority. They'll adapt eventually, but for now, they're psychologically paralyzed." The victory had cost them dearly. Many brave resistance fighters had sacrificed themselves to ensure the plan's success. But humanity had proven something crucial. Technological superiority alone wasn't enough. Innovation, adaptability, and the willingness to challenge established thinking could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. As reports of Dominion forces retreating from Earth's orbit began coming in, the resistance leaders gathered to plan their next move. They had won a crucial battle, but the war was far from over. Yet for the first time since the invasion, humanity wasn't just surviving. They were taking the fight to the enemy. The Dominion was about to learn that underestimating Earth had been their greatest mistake. The Alliance, the captured Dominion Command Center, yielded more than tactical data. As Sarah Chen and her team sifted through alien databases, They discovered something unexpected. Earth wasn't the first world to resist. Throughout the galaxy, other species had fought back, some achieving limited success before being overwhelmed by the Dominion's superior numbers. "Look at this," Maya called out, her eyes fixed on a holographic display. "There's an entire classification system for resistant species. We're not the first to exploit their technological weaknesses. We're just the first to do it successfully on this scale." The revelations came rapidly. The Dominion's empire spanned hundreds of worlds, most inhabited by species they'd conquered and enslaved. The Arcturians, beings of crystalline intelligence, had nearly defeated them through mathematical warfare. The Xin, a species of energy beings, had found ways to disrupt their shield harmonics. Each resistance had discovered different weaknesses, but none had managed to coordinate their efforts effectively. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, now expanded to include representatives from a dozen alien species, General Hayes reviewed reports of successful operations across 3 sectors. "We're not just fighting back anymore," she declared. "We're changing the fundamental nature of this conflict." The Dominion built their empire on the assumption that divided species were easy to conquer. Unity is their worst nightmare. As the Alliance prepared for its next major offensive, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. What started as Earth's desperate resistance had evolved into a galactic movement for freedom. The Dominion had spent centuries perfecting the art of conquest, but they had never faced anything like this. A coalition of species working together, each contributing their unique strengths to a common cause. The war was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. The Dominion was about to learn that true strength didn't come from technological superiority or military might. It came from the ability to unite, adapt, and overcome together. Dawn of a new era. The Dominion's capital world, Nexus Prime, had never known fear. For millennia, it had stood as the unassailable center of their empire, its crystalline spires and quantum arrays symbols of absolute power. Now, for the first time, alarm signals echoed through its streets as the combined fleet of the Alliance appeared in orbit. In the flagship Unity, a hybrid vessel combining technologies from all allied species, Sarah Chen stood with representatives from a dozen liberated worlds. The ship itself was a testament to their cooperation. Arcturian crystal matrices powered by Xin energy forms, guided by human intuition and protected by overlapping layers of innovative defenses. "They're broadcasting," Tommy announced from his integrated command station. The young hacker had grown into a seasoned commander, his understanding of hybrid technologies making him invaluable to the Alliance. The Dominion Supreme Commander's image appeared before them, its usual arrogance tinged with something new. Uncertainty. "This defiance is pointless," it declared. "You cannot hope to defeat the work of ages. Our empire has stood for millennia." General Hayes stepped forward, her voice steady. "Your empire stood because you kept your victims isolated and afraid. That ends today. Humanity didn't just learn to fight you. We learned to unite others against you." The battle for Nexus Prime became a testament to everything the Alliance had achieved. Arcturian battle computers predicted and countered Dominion tactics with mathematical precision. Xin energy beings danced through their defense grids, disrupting shields and weapons with impossible precision. Human strike teams, led by Colonel Martinez, exploited every weakness with innovative strategies that evolved faster than the Dominion could adapt. In her command center, Dr. Maya Patel coordinated the Alliance's technological assault. "Their systems are failing," she reported, watching as hybrid virus programs invaded Nexus Prime's quantum networks. They never imagined their own technology could be turned against them so completely. The Dominion's response proved their fundamental weakness. Faced with attacks that defied their tactical databases, they retreated into increasingly rigid and predictable patterns. Each failed strategy was met with an even more desperate attempt to assert their superiority, exactly as the Alliance had predicted. Sarah watched as the combined fleet executed the final phase of their attack. "They still don't understand," she observed to Symmetra, her Arcturian counterpart. Even now, they can't accept that lesser beings could possibly defeat them. The crystalline being's response resonated with mathematical amusement. Their greatest error was believing that technological advancement alone marked superiority. They never understood that true evolution requires adaptation, cooperation, growth. As the Alliance forces breached Nexus Prime's final defenses, they discovered something unexpected. Many of the Dominion's own subject races, inspired by the Resistance, had begun their own uprisings. The Empire wasn't just being defeated from without, it was crumbling from within. The Supreme Commander's surrender came not with a bang, but with a whimper. Faced with undeniable defeat, the Dominion leadership proved incapable of comprehending their failure. Their entire worldview, built on absolute certainty of their superiority, collapsed. In the aftermath, the Alliance faced a new challenge, building something better from the ashes of empire. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in the newly renamed Unity Prime, formerly Nexus Prime, to shape the future of galactic civilization. "We're not here to build another empire," General Hayes declared at the first Galactic Council session. "We're here to ensure no species ever again claims dominion over others." The principles that had won the war became the foundation for peace. The Alliance transformed into the Galactic Cooperative, where each species contributed its unique strengths while maintaining its independence. Earth, once considered a primitive backwater, became known as the world that sparked a revolution not through superior technology, but through the power of unity and adaptation. Sarah found herself working with Tommy and Maya to establish the Cooperative Science Division, where knowledge and innovation would be shared freely among all member species. The Dominion hoarded knowledge. She explained to a group of young researchers from dozens of worlds, "We'll advance faster by sharing it." The Arcturians established new mathematical principles combining multiple species' understanding of the universe. The Xin shared their mastery of energy manipulation, leading to breakthroughs in sustainable power generation. Human adaptability and creativity continued to drive innovation in unexpected directions. Years later, Sarah stood at a viewport in the Unity Station, watching ships from across the galaxy dock and depart. Each vessel represented a different species, a different approach to technology and life, all working together in ways the Dominion could never have imagined. They thought their greatest strength was their advancement. She mused to Colonel Martinez, now Admiral of the Cooperative's peacekeeping fleet. But real strength comes from diversity, from the ability to grow and change together. A group of young cadets passed by, human, Arcturian, Xin, and others, all training together in the Cooperative's academy. They represented a new generation that would never know the fear of Dominion rule, who would grow up understanding that different didn't mean inferior, that cooperation trumped conquest. The last Dominion strongholds have been transformed into museums and research centers, their technology studied and improved upon by collaborative teams. Their rigid hierarchies and beliefs in superiority became cautionary tales, reminders of how power without wisdom leads to stagnation. In the Great Hall of Unity Prime, a simple plaque commemorated the turning point of history. From Earth came not the most advanced species, but the one that showed us how to unite. In our differences, we found strength. In unity, we found freedom. The dawn of this new era brought challenges, but they were the challenges of growth and cooperation rather than conquest and submission. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, it had helped forge a new way forward for all species. As new worlds joined the cooperative, bringing their own unique perspectives and abilities, the galaxy flourished in ways the Dominion could never have imagined. They had sought to rule through power and fear. Instead, they had inadvertently sparked a revolution that proved the greatest power comes not from domination, but from the simple truth that together, we are stronger than we could ever be alone.